How to survive disruptive technologies. Joining us for this week's Smith Business Close-Up is Hank Lucas, Smith Chair Professor of Information Systems. Professor, thank you for being with us.
It's my pleasure, Jeff.
Let's start with a definition. When we talk about disruptive technologies, what are they?
Well, they're technologies that affect incumbents in a business. They're technologies that are new and threaten the way a company or an organization has been doing business probably for years and years.
You have a new book on the topic titled The Search for Survival, Lessons from Disruptive Technologies. Is it that serious? It's a life or death thing for a business?
Well, I think so. I mean, there are three examples that I think will really bring home the impact of this. Certainly all of us have heard of a company called Kodak. Kodak invented the digital camera, and the digital camera has actually forced them into bankruptcy. The camera combined with the internet to distribute images. You probably have occasionally rented a videotape from Blockbuster. That's going to be really hard to do in the future, and you're not going to be able to buy a book from Borders any longer.
So that's scary stuff for anybody in a business that can potentially be disrupted. But the challenge frequently comes from, the old the Hewlett-Packard model of two guys in a garage, or the Apple model where there's new technology that comes from a really nimble organization, which makes it a double threat.
Exactly. Apple is a great example itself because there are companies that have been able to take advantage of new technologies and marshal them to improve their position. And it's a great contrast that you bring up between Apple and Kodak, for example, because Apple was sort of a second-tier computer company until they figured out how to take advantage of the internet with iTunes and good design with their iPads and iPhones and iPods.
So what lessons do we take away from that?
Well, I think the real issue is, and for a company like Kodak and for Blockbuster and for Borders, one of the most serious problems is denial, is managers saying, hey, this technology is not going to affect us. It may not, but you don't start out with that as your premise. You start looking at these technologies and trying to see what they mean for you. And then the challenge for a manager is to figure out, how do I take this technology and make it a part of what I do? So you've got to kind of lead the charge in the organization. You have to marshal people behind you. It's just not enough to have the idea. And then you've got to change the organization, and that's a really hard thing to do.
Your students are probably equally as interested in the idea of being the disruptor. What businesses can they jump into where there's the potential to disrupt somebody else's market? What do you see coming down the pike?
Well, I think there are all kinds of opportunities. It's really hard to imagine. I think one of the real advantages of the American business system is the initiative that people take, the entrepreneurial spirit, the idea of coming up with the next big thing. And certainly there are a lot of issues out there, a lot of things going on now, things like cloud computing, online education, moving into the not-for-profit sector, the university sector. That's something we have to worry about as a university, is disruptive technologies that are out there for the model that we've had for the last 1,000 years of how you educate people.
Well, can't wait to see how that one turns out. Hank Lucas, the book is The Search for Survival, Lessons from Disruptive Technologies. Professor, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Jeff.